Okay. Okay. And a couple of words about me. So I'm coming from Europe. It's this strange country where you go for a vacation and you probably visit like 5 countries just by accident. And I'm from Poland, so more or less here in Central Europe. And then in Poland, I'm from Krakow. It's more on the south, close to mountains, but not such big mountains as here, but still mountains. So, Krakow is a very nice city. I really advise you to visit it one day if you have a chance. There is a nice marketplace in the middle and a royal castle because it was for a long time a capital in Poland. I worked at AGH, University of Science and Technology. Well, the building is not as nice as the previous ones, but still it's nice, it's pretty new. And my background is telecommunications, so I'm coming from telecommunication department and working mostly on telecommunication. Now, my history of work, I started my PhD, so I was always interested in mathematics and statistics and things like that. I started from queuing theory. If you haven't seen this YouTube video, I really advise you to understand better how the queuing works. Then after my PhD, I went to Toulouse, working still on modeling the traffic in the internet. And this modeling was related to a town in Sudan on the Nile River. If someone is interested, it's an interesting story. Next interesting stop for me was Geneva. I worked there for a little bit more than half of the year on the quality, because after coming back from Toulouse, I changed from more like traffic modeling to quality of experience. Quality of experience is the thing that I will try to explain you what is it. And it's more related to what I'm doing right now. And then being in Geneva in this 2010, 2011, I work on quality of experience or quality in general for telemedicine. And the hammer here is a symbol because I met a very, very interesting professor working in a welfare organization. We went there, we told the story that we've got all those nice tools for quality of experience and making video better, etc. And we really want to use it because the telemedicine is a perfect example. And then he answered that, yeah, I see you've got hammer, but you are looking for a nail. And this is not how you should do it. Yeah. And finally, we did an interesting project. We did ultrasonography. So you could consult by the internet link ultrasound examination, which was taking into account that the facilities in Chad and the network speed is 40 kilobits per second. So basically nowadays nothing works with this speed. But then we were able to do something. What was although interesting is that before we really built the system, the people there already learned the ultrasonography enough that they didn't need the consultation. Yeah. So it was another thing. Okay, then the next step was FTW in Vienna. Very interesting. There's a very strong team working on quality of experience, and I was working there in very strong cooperation with mobile operators. So this was again interesting, a different perspective and different way of dealing with some problems, let's say, and in the corporate way. As I said, I really like statistics. This is a part of the modeling, just a fun picture. Not details are not needed, but we model, for example, the behavior of the users doing subjective experiments or doing some studies like answering the questions in a questionnaire or something like that. And we come up with a model, because typically you model it like assuming that there is a continuous distribution. So there is some continuous value, for example, from being strongly Republican to strongly Democrat, and that there is a continuum. And in our model, which I actually don't believe that anyone thinks about himself like I'm 2.3 Democrat. Yeah? So in our model, it's more like few discrete decisions, and then it will build the answer. Yeah? And in my opinion, this is more realistic. Yeah? At least when I talk to people, it will be like, I hate this one thing, and this one thing actually makes me vote for the certain person. Yeah? And that the rest doesn't matter. So this is interesting, although the math then become much more difficult, and that is why it's not so much used. But we work on that. From a personal point of view, I've got 3 kids. That is why I'm here from more or less 8:30 till just before 3. I have to go and pick them up. So if you want to catch me, it's the hours that I'm here. And I also like climbing very much. So if you like outdoor climbing or mountaineering or anything like that, let me know during weekends. I'm sure we can do something. Okay, now to the topic. So as I said, I'm working in quality experience. I will try to explain it to you through an example. So let's say we are thinking about developing an application, and this application is with good idea. Let's do an application that will help kids in the hospital to feel like at home because they can play a board game with friends, family members, whatever. And then developing such application, we of course have got tons of problems to solve. Yeah. So like which game is a kind of simple probably problem, but then of course the next question is should the game be really like a board game? So we really don't want to put too much emphasis on details, or maybe we should really make the game like use that it is played in virtual environments, so maybe pawns should walk, I don't know, fight or things like that. Yeah. So this is already something that would be also nice to think. Okay, how we see those friends and family. This is very important. Yeah. So do we try to do avatars, knowing that maybe we will do them cartoon and then they don't really feel like at home, or we will try to make a very realistic mother, but still we mess with, I don't know, whatever part of how she looks, and then it will be even scary for kids. Or maybe we'll just go for a video that is somewhere in the air. Yeah. So all those details, maybe I will skip the rest. All those details are very important, and they will consume our energy to develop some things like that. Yeah. And I would be the guy who would ask the question, okay, what about the network? Because probably developing this, you do it in the lab, and you do test in the lab where your network is perfect. You may be connected everything by cables, or even if you use Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi got lots of repeaters here, and probably it's nearly impossible to really have any problems. And lots of time, I have feeling that people think about the network something that just works, and it's perfect. Yeah, if you do the speed test, everything's super fast, and this is definitely true for many places. Or it simply doesn't work at all. Yeah. Like you don't have connection, you go to the mountains and there's no problem like if my application will work. No, as long as it needs any connection, it won't. And it's simple as that. But true is that actually network is a certain continuum. To some extent, what we think is that it just works or doesn't. And this is the reason for that is actually because anything that is somewhere here, like starting not really working, is just dying. Yeah. So all the application that people try to develop and they needed better internet that is commonly met by users, those applications are not with us. So I took being in Geneva, I was also visiting US in Carnegie Mellon University. We did the study where we wanted to know what people think about the quality of the application they use on the mobile phones. It was 2010, so it was pretty new thing. And we did like, so they pop up questions, yeah, like what you think about the quality. And also we did this 24 hours recall. So we met with them and discussed about the last 24 hours. And we pretty quickly realized that all the applications are excellent or at least good. And the reason is because all the others are simply not used. Yeah. So back then there was no streaming applications on the mobile phones simply because they didn't work. Yeah. So the thing is that the moment you develop the application, this question is important. Yeah. So this question is not so important for the application that are on the market because we know they are working, they did something. But the moment you develop the application, you should ask this question about the network. And this is like my message to you. Yeah? Well, there are some ways to make it work and we should try. I recently was hearing an interview with the CEO of Perplexity. It's a website where you can ask a question like ChatGPT, but it gives you some context and source of the information and stuff like that. And this CEO said that he really likes test his solutions in the airplane. So when he's flying somewhere, because the airplane connection Wi-Fi is always, citing him, sucks. Yeah. Well, you don't have to really fly to make your connection worse and test your solutions, but it's a good idea, yeah? Because then it's pretty realistic. Yeah. So if we think about like one message to take from my talk, I'm not finishing yet, but I'm kind of finishing some part of the talk. So if you want to take the message, then the message would be when you develop something that, of course, use internet. Yeah, like if your application is, I don't know, like the animation you do, and it doesn't need really connection to the outside world, then of course it doesn't matter. But the moment there is a connection, just test it. Maybe you don't need to be so sophisticated. A simple test will always give you some clues about what is happening. Yeah. And in my opinion, this is important, although, as the rest of the talk will tell you, that test can be done can be simplified, and we can get some knowledge. But the very detailed tests are complicated, and this is what I'm working on for a long time. So why it is complicated. So first of all, well, you can do simple tests, and the message should be like, I should test my network performance of my application, and maybe I don't need very complicated tests. And maybe I can detect things like, well, again, why it's important. I could detect some things like, we develop in Poland an application for virtual reality, and it seems that this application, for example, got lots of server user connections. And then if you have any problem with the network and moving one object needs a 10 server client connections, it means that whatever delay you have, 10 times more the user will feel. If you change the design to have, I don't know, 3 requests instead of 10, it's 5 times more resistance to a delay problem. Yeah. So this is what I'm talking about, this basic testing. Now, if you want to go to details, the network can be divided to bandwidth, packet loss, and delay, but those are not super easy to model in a very realistic setup. Yeah. So this simple setup where I change delay and just see if my application is crashing, this is fine, and you definitely should do it. Then for very complicated things, where if your products start to develop, you start to be very rich, then you should call me. Yeah? This is the message. Because why it's so complicated? So first of all, why we have packet loss or delay or anything. So exclamation is a good reason. Maybe not this exclamation, but more like this one. Because from time to time, they will just take out the cables and disconnect. Of course, it's not so important. Actually, the weather forecast, the servers, they change. The network got millions of things. Like it's super complicated right now. So it's not super easy to model all the aspects of the things that can happen there. But for me, the most important is to understand why the test is difficult from the network point of view is that, like, what I really want to emphasize is my own opinion about it. So we've got the definition of quality of experience and user experience. So in my opinion, the user experience is more about making focus on usability, on some decision, how the network, how the application looks like and things like that. But then quality of experience is more about engineering optimization of the application in case we already know more or less what it's doing. And now we try to make it smoother, better, regardless of the connection quality, or maybe maybe even with slower connection as good for the user, that the user wants to see the difference. And by far the most well studied is the video streaming services, because it's very, very classical way. So the moment you press the play button, basically UX to some extent disappear. You just sit and enjoy the watching. But then the network starts to be a really key parameter, because whatever fluctuation of the network connection you will have, they will influence the experience of the user and eventually maybe stop the service. And this was one of the most important probably discoveries. So some tests that were done like around 2010, they discovered that actually people really hate stopping the video. So they prefer to have worst quality than to have stalling. And then, as you know, stallings disappeared, So basically technology was changed to so-called Dash streaming service. So it's a service that actually detects your speed of the internet and sends you quality that fits your internet, but do everything and more not to stop the play. So all this was done because of the quality experience, guys, and focusing on quality in my own opinion, again, very personal. I really can see the difference. So part of the VQEC, the Video Quality Expert Group, as I said, I'm a part of the Video Quality Expert Group, and there are people from Netflix, from Meta, from YouTube. And in my opinion, those services, you can see that they work, that I really focus. But for example, there are not people from, I use Disney and HBO, and both of them are like surprisingly bad in terms of the quality. It's like I cannot understand, like playing the movie on the fiber optic with cable connected to my TV. So really, like, I don't see any possible problem. And the quality in Disney could drop so much that my kids noticed. And my kids are really, any kids are very resistant. We did this experiment in Krakow. We did this experiment where you could see the same movie in two different rooms. And in one room, we started from the worst possible quality and we ladder it up. And in another room, we started from the highest and dropping the quality. And we wanted to see if the people are changing the rooms. So like my sister come with his son, and she was like, oh, this is not so really sharp. Maybe we'll go and see the other room. And he was like, no, there is a hamster, probably hamster because the quality was so bad on the screen. So. And they are talking, and this is enough for kids, but still they were able to do it wrong. Okay, so this is the quality, as I said, the very classical one, and this is where I work the most. So I worked in the past mostly on video quality stuff. Okay, now how you test video quality or any other service? So the problem we have in quality of experience experiments is that we have continuous variable. So like delay, for example. So let's say we would like to develop an application where people can train before going to fix something, and they have to fix it together. So they would like to train it together as well, but they are not at the same place, so they train remotely in the virtual space. And of course, delay will play a role here, to the extent that if delay is too long, too much, then simply people won't be able to do it. If it's little, then maybe they can do it, but we really cannot decide where is the threshold. Like a colleague from Video Quality Expert Group, he worked on a VR application for loading the trucks with wood. And he was super surprised that the guys were able to stand 4 seconds delay. Still, they were able to do it pretty okay, So of course they didn't like it, but they did the task, So people are not so easily predictable in terms of where is the threshold, Like for phone conversation, we know that 150 milliseconds is pretty okay. Anything beyond start to be felt, and then over half a second it's start to be difficult. So we don't know. We have to do the test. But the problem is that if we do the test, let's try to make a test. So you have to recognize a mark of this car. So what is the producer?
BMW.
You're very good.
My parents' vehicles.
Okay, I hope that no one is able to recognize it. I'm not a big car fan. So I brought you the better one, the better view. Now it's clear, yeah? But then if I show you again even the worst quality, I guess you still are able to recognize BMW. But the thing is that now we cannot say if anyone is able to recognize BMW or not, because we already seen the original one, yeah? So it's lost. And it's the same with this training, yeah? The moment they train once for, let's say, 200 milliseconds, we cannot do the training for 300 milliseconds because now we don't know if they already learned the training or if the 300 milliseconds is still okay. So the challenge we have is that we have to prepare a task that is not necessarily exactly our application, maybe something else, but we are able to repeat this task many times with many different settings because the network settings are different. But the task should be exactly the same. We want to change only the network, nothing else. Yeah? And then still do some conclusions. Of course, we have to keep in mind that when we have internet connection and someone is browsing a website or playing a video game, we cannot make a one task that is testing a network connection for both of them. Yeah? Because in this case, delay of 200 milliseconds is literally killing you if you're playing a shooting game. But in web browsing, probably no one noticed because you have to read before you decide to click something, and then delay is not so important. So the concept that was developed within the quality of experience community is, first of all, yes, so go for the tasks that are repeatable and that we can do and are fitting a certain goal. And then within those tasks, simply ask about the quality. And then the thing you will get this line with the quality, and then your application and your understanding of the market, let's say, will tell you if maybe my application is so much needed that even with the bad connection, everyone will use it. Or maybe my application needs really excellent connection because even with average connection, people will drop. So we kind of separate the decision about the application itself from the understanding how network influence my application. Okay, so we do the test that can be very artificial. The most artificial one I had is the reading numbers. So you get random numbers, and another person gets a random numbers, and now we read, but some numbers are not the same, and we should spot when, as fast as possible, which numbers are incorrect. Yeah, super artificial task, very, very, very strongly delay dependent. And of course, this task will be nice mimicking of any application that that is very delay, let's say, sensitive. Yeah? And this task, of course, we can very easily repeat it. We can generate as many random numbers as we want. We can easily change them and then have this fit. But of course, we understand that there is a gap between our application and this test. Yeah. So this is a play to do. Yeah. Well, what kind of task I can do? What kind of task I cannot? Okay. And this traditional asking about quality goes for the ITU experiment. So ITU is a group that brings standards, and they do some standard procedures to do some experiments. Yeah? And there are experiments for video or image quality. Right now, Video Quality Expert Group is working on standards on virtual reality tests, and IMG is the group that you are also involved in working in it. So typically it will be showing you a picture and then you have some scale. I showed two different scales because I really love the Japanese scale. It's so perfectly symmetric.
Very, yeah.
Yeah, it's very symmetric. It's very logical to have a symmetric scale comparing to, well, as far as I spoke with native speakers, they said that between poor and bad, there's slight difference or nearly none difference. But anyway, so you get those questions, and the thing is that it's pretty boring, yeah, because you then have next and next and next, and those experiments are boring. But the advantage is that we get a lot of information because we can have a certain, let's say, compression level, and then show it for the different sequences, and then different compression level for different sequences, and then we can kind of conclude that, well, this compression level is not enough to really have a decent quality. The other compression level is better one. Yeah? So there's yet another problem that we have. So the problem is that if we do experiment in such a way that we will show people only the bad qualities, then unfortunately people are so nice that they will rise the quality in the test. So this is again a factor that we have to take into account. Yeah? So when we showing the certain range of quality, it should be realistic. And unfortunately, we cannot only show, for example, only very good qualities, because again, people won't be able to detect it. All right. So I hope I convince you that, well, it's good to test network. It can be complicated if you want to do it with lots of details. And maybe the next thing I wanted to say is that there's like this one more layer of complication here, is that when you do the test, you should take into account like a human visual system for the video quality, but in general, it's like limitation of our body. Like obviously, if your application got 1 millisecond delay and we know that people cannot react faster than 5 milliseconds, then you are fine. You don't need any tests. You are just, nothing can happen. Yeah. Then those are the tests, as I said, so where we focusing on quality only, and we really are thinking about the pixel quality, so that this delay quality and things like that. But then what you want to do is to go beyond it. Yeah? So you think about, okay, I'm happy that people can detect 100 millisecond delay with the application where they read numbers, but in my application, they don't read the numbers. They play this game. Let's go from the beginning example. So they play the board game, and then probably the delay of 300 milliseconds would be still okay. So I have to sometimes think about this broader sense. And of course, all this is part of user experience. So somewhere this network influence is one story, but maybe, I don't know, I can easily, for example, by adding an advertise. This is what is happening right now. Yeah, like if you have a chance to have stalling in YouTube, there's a chance that YouTube will show you just an advertise, and you will never know, was it a network problem or was it really time for an advertise? Yeah. So such solutions can also kind of solve to some extent that address the problem. Yeah. So the differences here with the experiments, I wanted to point that with human visual system, of course, this is probably going somewhere from psychology and things like that. This quality of pixel is well standardized. We more or less know how to do some of the experiments. If we think about the video quality, if we think like about VR and stuff like that, then it's still a shaky ground, but we do work there. The quality of experience is not so well defined as how the experiments should look like, but it's more like taking your applications and 3D network problems and trying to do something to make it more realistic. And of course, user experience, I'm sure you are much more expert than I am how to test user experience. Okay, so this is the end of theoretical talk. I also wanted to tell something about what I'm doing here to be easier to connect. So I'm here to realize a project. So in Poland, there is a governmental facility where you can apply a project to do to go somewhere and do something. So I did that, and my project is about extending the QE part for the things that are done here. So this is the idea behind, and I really like it. Yeah, so I really like that I got some experience with dealing with this qualitative experience stuff, but not so much experience with developing new products. And as I see, you've got plenty of experience with developing new products. So I really hope that we can work together. But by far the most for me important is really people, ideas, connections. Yeah. So really, even if you do something that is far away, that you somehow think that I could be involved or be interested, I'm totally open. Of course, as always, the time limitation is a problem. I have to do the project, but really, this is to do here. Okay, and in more details, maybe I will not lose the time to go through all the points. I've got more detailed slides about each one point, but just quickly, what is the idea? So the first, right now I'm reading about different standards describing the tests for interactive processes to be kind of prepared for this interactive with VR processes. So this is mostly about telephony and traditional telemeetings. I already have lots of ideas there, but we have to probably limit it, because the thing is that the things that are described in standards, it seems that most of them, they do not have the benchmark of testing it without any technology behind. It's like kind of surprising for me, like this numbers reading, they didn't say like that people normally it takes between, I don't know, 5 seconds to 10 seconds, yeah? Or maybe the variance is gigantic, yeah? And if you take the different people, you can have it in 1 minute or maybe in 5 seconds, the result, yeah? So this is very important in my opinion. This would be nice to make such a test, but I guess we don't have enough time to really do it, but let's see. Then we should bring a feedback loop for a test that is already like developed here, and we try to mess with the network and see how it works. So this is to be developed. And then then the next things I should do is also prepare an idea for an experiment, which could be used in virtual reality, needs cooperation. So we need to kind of move, for example, some objects and things like that. And again, it would be a good example of something that we test this interactivity, but we can easily repeat the experiment. So I already have an idea, and my PhD student in Poland, he kind of started to think about implementation. So the idea is that we've got different clues, and we have to do a sorting on some boxes. Yeah, so we've got some information about how the boxes should be sorted, and then we sort them. The beauty is that we can like easily. I can move a box, but someone else also move the box, and then it will start to be very messy. I would love to connect it actually with the idea that you have here, so that you can say and then create a box, because then we can sort boxes that do not exist yet. So I say, I create the box, but then someone else also said and create a box, and suddenly from not enough boxes, we have too many boxes. So all this would somehow, mimic the real virtual environment cooperation with problems, yeah, which is good. So I really hope to go for this. We should present it at the ITU and VQuac. It's not a big deal. I'm here because I actually work for I think nearly 10 years with Margaret Pinson, and she's got plenty of experience with dealing with ITU standards. And also there is this proposed method to targeting subjective experiment for general availability applications. And here also there is this idea that maybe from the experience of being here and cooperating with you, maybe we can write a paper targeting the UX community and really focusing on the fact that we can distort the network easily and do a fast test of what happened to my application the moment the network is not so perfect. Okay, I've got a couple of other slides, but I think we can skip them. So this is all. Thank you very much.
Fair to say that we will always have unreliable or variable network speeds, or are we heading towards a future in which we can rely on some, maybe not perfect network, but at least predictable?
So even now, I would say that in this well-developed countries, like my brother-in-law, who's very nice and always making laugh of me that I'm working on something that is useless because he always have internet connection and it's always working. So why are you bothering to ask why it's not working? So Video at Scale is a conference organized by Facebook, and I've been on one. And they started from saying, like, we know that here in Silicon Valley, this is the connection you get, but in the world, the connection looks different, yeah? So from the, like, far future, I don't know how far, probably the connection will be really good, most of the places, like, very, very few places will have a better.
Case of the futures here is just not even distributed.
To some extent, this is true. It's also the other problem is the population density. Yeah, like it can be fair in terms of population density distributed, but still some people will have very bad connection simply because they are away from all the servers and stuff like that. So this is true, and my friend who is teaching fiber optics and things like that, he's always saying that yeah, we are trying to do our best to really push the limits to just make everything working. On the other hand, people are creative, yeah, and making more and more applications. So the demand now moved away from the cable itself, more towards servers. Like Facebook is clearly saying that the demand they have is growing faster than they are able to build the servers and facilities to deal with it. Just take into account that any video that you upload to Facebook goes through system that detects if there is not child nudity, for example, which means that each one, well, not each one frame, but nearly each one frame is analyzed. And this means really a lot of data. Yeah? So, well, we definitely we can have very, very good connection and very good speed. And lots of applications probably won't see the problem. Yeah? But I still would test it just to be sure. And at home, always people, well, I kind of don't see yet technology that will be so resistant that you put a router in one place and then covers all your house. Probably there will be some blind spots.
I had a follow-up question, but more interested to hear what others.
I'm kind of curious, like when you're doing the video quality testing, what kind of question you ask?
Well, so exactly the ITU standard says, please rate the video quality. And in the instruction is, please ignore the topic. Like literally said, like, if you like underwater video and you don't like, I don't know, balloons, and please don't take it into account in your rating.
Just only asking the quality.
Only quality. And when I come back to this example of a subjective experiment, you will see the same sequence a couple of times. So actually what we observe is that people are so much focused on quality that sometimes they say, well, I didn't really watch the whole video, I watch only the grass here. Because on good quality, I see the single leads, and the bad one is the blurred one. And this is my decision. So of course, then we can see why it can be very far from our application because obviously no one will see a video and just focus on the grass. It is just.
But the quality question is including like the tolerable, because we did the research before the AR drone circle. We asked two questions is like, are you notice the latency? And the other thing is like, are you tolerable these things? So the funny thing is, sometimes people, because they perform in different tasks, they can tolerate the bad quality, something like that. Yeah.
So the classical experiment using the most popular so-called absolute category rating scale asks only about quality exactly with those 5 answers. So excellent, good, fair, poor, and bad. But the standards, they describe more. So you can have impairment scale, and then it's like imperceptible, perceptible, but acceptable, and things like that. And they're changing a lot. Like MPEG recently started to use a very bizarre scale that we within VQuack criticize a lot, but still they just use it. Yeah, so we cannot stop MPEG from doing whatever we want. But this is a very good question actually, because of course questions got a huge impact. Although the moment with this test, you would see like 160 videos. I have a feeling that really question doesn't matter so much because like I literally fall asleep when I do the test.
160. So I have one question. Is it good to put the opinion box, like like let people write opinions in the questions list or not?
So questionnaires are rarely used, like more often right now. Like in the project that I had, we try always to have a questionnaire at the end. But the problem is that, let's say you have those delays from 100 millisecond to 1 second delay during the experiment study. And then at the end you will do the questionnaire. Then this questionnaire doesn't really reflect what people think so much because there were so many different conditions. So it's kind of difficult to pick up what to describe in the questionnaire. If you want to do a questionnaire after each one session, then the problem is that you typically need a lot of sessions to get some reasonable conclusions. And then questionnaire after each one session is simply, well, not feasible, because it starts to be that you're collecting the answer longer than you're really showing anything to a user. Which is, but there is a discussion within QA community, definitely, like how to balance it. Everyone knows that those five possible answer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is too little and gives not enough answers. But on the other hand, a very difficult questionnaire is also not the best option. What we did in our experiment, we didn't publish yet the results, but we did something else. So we do an experiment where people watch a video and then they freely describe what they think about the video, like whatever. And some of them use the scale. This was funny, like 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10. This was all what the person said. Like the whole experiment. But of course, some other people describe some details, like, well, this was blurred, but not really annoying, or things like that. And we think about proposing a procedure where people would vote normally with normal scale most of the videos, but then few with description. And this would give you like insight about what they really scoring. Because, for example, from this description, we point out that one of the tester, she completely didn't care about the quality. She was only talking about the, again, brown video. I really hate brown. Then okay, probably it's not the most important. To conclude, you shouldn't conclude too much from this.
Don't the streaming companies have data on when people turn off quit the movie? So if I'm watching a movie and it's really bad quality, I turn it off. And so presumably, the better the quality, the longer I'll persist. If it's really bad, I'll give up right away. So do they have those data, and are those data useful?
Yeah, so I tried to convince people from Netflix to do this research, but I wasn't too much lucky. So I found a person interested in the topic, but by the time Netflix started to launch this live streaming, and she said she doesn't have enough time to work on anything else. So theoretically, it's simple. It should be there. It should be in the data. But in practice, it's much, much more complicated. So of course, from like Netflix point of view, it should be visible because they've got really enormous amount of data. On the other hand, we have to remember that, well, during the test we did in our lab, we did a test. We wanted to test something else, like different procedure. And we had a procedure where you watch the whole video, the quality drops each more or less 1.5 minute, and then you have a button, but you have to stand up. So let's say you sit here, and the button is here. So you have to stand up, press the button. Then the video stops for like 2 seconds, maybe even less, and then it goes to the maximum quality, and then it drops again. Yeah. So we really kind of see if you, and we had one tester that didn't press a button at all. So it dropped after, I don't know, 10 minutes, it was in the worst quality possible, and he watched till the end the worst quality. And then he said well, my internet connection is bad and I'm used to watching that quality.
Want to get out.
Yeah, well, this could be also a reason, but at least he claimed that this was the reason, yeah? And this is actually the thing why in the Netflix data, it won't be very easy to pick up, because the people that got bad internet connection or low data like month subscription, let's say you get 2 gigabytes per second, and you want to see, then you will actually by hand choose the bad quality, because at the end, we also do it, yeah? We watch videos not really watching the screen, just listening to the story, yeah?
Yeah.
And this is, well, especially new, like for me, it's really surprising, yeah? The director did so much effort to make the beautiful lens, and then you play on your phone. Yeah, but this, what I noticed that the young people, they never do one thing, yeah? They always do something else as well. So then, of course, the quality of the screen itself is not so, and actually impairing the quality of audio, well, it's nearly impossible. You would need to have very, very bad connection to the audio, and then simply before that, the service will stop because they don't even keep the very bad quality of audio on the servers. Yeah, it's always decent. Yeah, because so. Yeah, theoretically they have this information. In practice, well, they never shared, and they didn't even. I wasn't able to, because I tried to convince them that I can do the research. I don't have to tell anyone what was the result. Yeah, I'm just interested in touching the data and seeing if there is something, because there is actually a notion. Like once I ran a study with my student on analyzing Reddit messages, how much is about quality. And then the moment you remove 2 things, so one, groups that are focusing on quality, and Game of Thrones, the episode number 8 or something like that. This was the only, they were the only things that really focusing on the quality itself. All the rest, people basically don't even speak about it. Yeah, so it seems that this is not so important. Yeah,
Is that possible that we assume there will be quality drop when we watch it?
Yes, there was very, very famous experiment for me. One of the funniest and the most interesting experiment ever done in QE community. They gave a DVD to people with some impairments, and they collected some. They asked about short questionnaire after, and then they did also an interview. And people quite often said, because they didn't notice any like they didn't mark that there were any distortions, and there were several, like very obvious distortions, and then ask directly, like, but did you notice there was this moment and then there was something wrong? Ah, yes, my DVD player is old. Yeah. So people were so much into like, well, the distortion is something that just happens that they completely ignore it. Yeah? Of course, not all of them, but some of them. Yeah. So this is true. And also, like when we do the very realistic setup, people quite often they simply say, well, the distortion is there, it's typical, yeah. But the thing is that here we're speaking about the application that already exists on the market. And really, the applications that are going to the market, they've got very different challenge to do. Because if they got bad quality because of the network, they will never reach the moment. Like people start to accept that there are some problems, yeah? People will not accept the beginning of the problems, yeah?
And are there any groups more resilient than others? Elder people versus younger, or maybe cultural wise, or tech savvy wise, or whatever. So are there any patterns you can discover in the way they are more resilient?
Yeah.
Or how they make?
I don't know about, well, there are some studies showing that there are differences between age group, for example, slight differences, basically, not much. So individual differences are by far much bigger. And with our study with Button, we've seen the difference with age. But of course, then it's really strongly biased because you have to stand up, yeah, and then. And then it's also obvious that this is but of course also, like, by definition I need glasses. I didn't need it 10 years ago, yeah. So by definition, watching a screen from some distance, I will be more resistant to distortion, and there's no doubt. Okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.